Welcome to the Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions podcast with Brent Bailey. And at the tech booth, Jody Cook-Bailey and Luke Cardiel. We are growing our circles of connections and knowledge together with encouraging conversations and positive communications. And now, Brent Bailey.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? It's Wednesday, everybody, and welcome to Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions. It's Brent Bailey, and it's a great day. I got a great show planned for you today. My good friend Jeff Bardel is here to talk about his new book entitled If I Had Died That Day. Right now, though, let's go over to the tech booth and check in with Jody and Luke. Guys, how's it going over there?
Going good.
Hey. Are we all ready to go for a beautiful show today?
Yes.
Of course, Jeff's been on the show before, but that was when we were just getting started, and he's got a new book that's coming out just around the holidays. It's perfect time for a Christmas stocking stuffer, and so we're going to be talking to him about that. Of course, his story is one of the most powerful and inspiring stories you're ever going to hear in your life. So we'll bring him out here in just a few moments. He's going to be joining us all the way from the Tar Heel State. That's why the artwork was blue. Did anybody else notice it? Made it Tar Heel blue for him today. So anyway.
What's Tar Heel?
Like the North Carolina Tar Heels? Their mascot is a goat. I don't know. Or a ram. Not a goat, a ram. I'm not real sure what a Tar Heel is.
Okay.
Maybe we'll ask him.
Yeah. Let's do that. We'll add that.
We'll ask
to
him.
Our list of
Maybe if we got people watching right now that are Tar Heel fans, you could explain in the comment section below right now what a Tar Heel is. Yeah. Because, here's the way I look at it. I grew up in Kentucky, and both us, Kentucky, and the North Carolina Tar Heels fans, we equally hate Duke.
Yes, that's true.
So
you all do.
We hate Duke, and it's almost like we can tolerate one another because we hate Duke so much. It's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I don't know what a Tar Heel is, but I don't hate Tar Heels as much as I hate Blue Devils, which I'm sure Josh Huffman's watching right now. He's like the biggest Duke Blue Devil fan there is. And so he's on his way down here to Orlando, though. Did you know that, Jody? He's coming. Him and Megan are coming to see us.
Good.
So,
Good. Yay.
I hope that wasn't a surprise for Megan. I probably just gave that away.
Well,
hey, Megan, can't wait to see you. Anyway, all right, let's move on. Let's
move on.
get
Let's
into
talk about the day.
Let's talk about
what's going on.
Yeah.
I really want to talk about this real quick. It is National Special Education Day.
Oh, and what a great day!
Such a wonderful day. We know a lot of children who we would consider, they're considered special education, whether it's a learning disability or it's autism or whatever it is. But what the purpose of this day is, it's not just to recognize the day or recognize those that are specially educated, but it's the government. There's been laws that have been passed to give those children the right to the same free education that those, that wouldn't be considered special education. So it's a wonderful day, and I would say, a way to observe it is get involved in, see where you can get involved. There's a lot of families.
Places to volunteer.
Yes.
Families that need help.
Yeah.
Church.
Yes.
Listen, if you go to a church that has a special needs area, that's one of the best things that a church could offer people. And, that's been something we wanted to do at Direction Church.
Yeah.
I almost said Trinity Station. That's my parents' business. Has nothing to do with us. Anyway, Direction Church, because when we were on staff at a big church in Oklahoma at Rhema, we had an area called, we called it Special Forces because there was a military theme for the youth group at the time, and it was called Special Forces. and it was for special needs children. But I mean, a lot of churches have those, and it's a great outreach for families.
It is. So anyway, so
all right, moving on. What else?
Our food of the day is National Fritters Day.
Ooh.
We got to talk about the
Does it matter what?
No, it doesn't.
No, it's just
it's
fritters.
just any kind. I mean, you get apple fritters, corn fritters, banana fritters.
Yes.
You can get.
Would a hush puppy count as a fritter?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is.
That's not really a pastry.
No.
It's definitely cornmeal. Do you know where they got the name Hush Puppy? Where it's from? When they were settling this country and moving out west, it's actually through your birth state of Oklahoma.
Yes.
They would obviously they were encroaching on the Native American lands, and so when they were at night, when they felt like they were almost being attacked or on the verge of being attacked, the dogs would give them away. Like everybody could, they knew where they were because the dogs would, and so they had these little cornmeal that they fried, and they would give it to the dogs to hush the puppies.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. So,
you learned something today.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
I'm not giving hush puppies to my dog though.
No,
I will eat them.
All right.
But let's just.
I don't know where the seafood connection came in. Anyway, go ahead, Jody.
So when we're talking about dogs, it is also National Mutt Day.
Aww.
A mutt is a mixed breed. I actually grew up. We had mutts in my
Who
childhood.
Who didn't have a mutt?
I don't know.
I found one in a dumpster one time after work. I was working at a grocery store, my hometown. My uncle owned a grocery store, and I was working there, and I took the garbage out towards the end of the shift, and there was a puppy in there, and she was just our vet called him a Heinz variety.
Okay.
Heinz variety.
And so we kept her for a long time. Her name was Reese, and
you rescued her.
We rescued her.
You saved her life.
So she was not a Rottweiler.
No, but she looked like one. But she was mixed with something else. But anyway, today's National Mutt Day, so celebrate the mutts in your life.
I found a boxer pit bull breed one time, and I took it in right before I was going to Rhema. It was right before I went to Rhema.
Nice.
Nice.
That's pretty.
They're cute. Little mutts.
All right, is that all of our national days?
That's it. That is all we're talking about. So
all right,
let's talk about something else.
Let's talk about something else. This day in 1999, I believe it was. No, excuse me, 2001. This was a huge day because this is the day that Enron filed for bankruptcy. Enron was one of the largest companies in the world. They had fudged on their books, hoping that they would catch up. And there were so many people that were blown away by their bankruptcy that it literally changed the landscape of the stock market and everything at that point. So it was this day in 2001. Also on this day in 1970. Now that was just a little bit before I was born, but on this day in 1970, the Environmental Protection Agency opened. The EPA opened its doors and started operating. And I'm not one of these guys that is completely anti-EPA, because I do believe that the planet did become healthier and better, because I remember being a youngster in the 70s when it was really just getting started. There was acid rain, and that went all the way into the 80s, and there was smoke and pollution. And cities like Pittsburgh, when you go to Pittsburgh, which is the birthplace of your mom, Sharon, when you went to places like that, the buildings were all nasty and just with and when you go to those places now, they're healthy and beautiful and things like that. So cool. It was this day that in 1970 that started. So
interesting.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
We have anything else to talk about?
We do have one more thing I want to talk about. Has anybody seen in the news lately about this thing called they're calling it the Utah Monolith? Has anybody seen this?
Yeah.
Now here is a picture of it. What happened here is that there were some Parks and Services people that were out and about, and they found this in a place in Utah, which they say it's the desert of Utah. I wasn't aware that Utah had a desert, but it's the desert of Utah. And when they found it, it's in a place that's not easily accessible. It is a very, really hard climb. In fact, they were releasing public notice things from the Park Services saying, please do not try and go find this. It's in a place where you could get lost. or stranded or injured. And so people, of course, started, you can't tell the public what to do. So they went on and they started finding it, and they found pictures of it on Google Earth from all the way back in 2016.
Wow.
And nobody had seen it. It's been there for years, and nobody knew about it until these guys found it. And so then, of course, there were hundreds of people that made their way out into the Utah desert to find this thing and take pictures with it. Well, it's odd enough that it showed up there by itself, but then suddenly it vanished, just like it did from next to my head just now. It just vanished. And there were people that went to go find it, and there's all kinds of, like, theories. Yeah, what is this? What is it? And so they're like, what is it? What is it? What is it? There's people that think it was a prank pulled by a famous artist, that he did it before he died so that people would find it. Other people are, of course, thinking aliens. Some people are thinking all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so it disappears. Nobody knows what happens. It just vanishes. And the next day, are you ready for this? It pops up in Romania.
That's so wild. That's
so
now,
wild.
Here's the thing that is so interesting about this. Is this really the year to be messing around with monoliths that mysteriously...
No.
If this is a prank, let me just say bravo. But then second of all, you need to tell people, because this is going to cause mass hysteria. Because Romania is not just a little jaunt to the other side of next state over. It was in Florida one day, it's in Georgia the next. This appeared on the other continent of Europe, which is across the Atlantic Ocean, thousands of miles, 8 or 10,000 miles away. I don't know how far away it is, but it's extremely far away. And
so it's one day shipping. It must have been Amazon.
I don't know how they got it there, but
they got it there with a drone.
Is this really the year to be messing around with aliens and stuff like that? I don't know.
No, it is not.
I don't know. But anyway.
And what happened at the end, though, right?
I don't know. We still don't know. I guess it's still in Romania right now.
We
so
keep
we'll
an
see
eye
what
on
happens.
it
So
and
yeah.
see if it goes anywhere else.
Yes.
As long as it doesn't start blinking, I'm okay.
If it ends up in the South Pole.
Or playing the 2001 A Space Odyssey theme or whatever. But anyway. All right. Well, that's what's going on around the country today. Let's get into our guest today and expand our search. I'm really excited to have my friend back on the program today. He is got one of the most inspiring shows. Yes, I'm prophesying right now. He has one of the most inspiring stories that you're ever going to hear. I've known Jeff for a long time now. We met in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were both at Rhema. I was working there. He was a student there. And Jeff has a incredibly inspiring story that begins in tragedy. And he has spoken all over the world. He's got a brand new book that is being released right now, just in the last week or so. And it's a perfect stocking stuffer. It is called If I Had Died That Day. So please welcome to the program. I can call him my friend, but he's also an author and a speaker and a golf phenom. Give it up for Jeff Bardel, everybody, as he comes on. Hey, there he is. What's up?
Good to be on.
Yeah. It's good to have you back on.
So let me ask you a question first.
Okay.
So
all right.
Do you want to know what a Tar Heel is now, or would you rather wait until the end?
Let's get into it real quick, because I want to talk about your book and everything. So tell us what a Tar Heel is.
Okay. Now, you know how rumors go around, how this is what it means, that what it means. This is what I was always told when I was young, growing up as a kid.
In North Carolina.
In North Carolina, that a Tar Heel was a soldier from the state of North Carolina, and it was to the point that they wouldn't retreat no matter what. They would stand their ground. And so they said it's like they have tar on their heels. And so that's where Tar Heels came from. Now, that is the Jeff Bardel translation. If you look it up and Google says something different, Google's probably wrong.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with somebody that lives and born and raised and eats and breathes North Carolina. I'm going to go with your definition of it. So, but now here's the question: what does the ram have to do with it?
I think it's just one of those things that you have schools that they have a mascot that, okay, you're not going to walk around as a foot. So like you look at these different things, all of these different schools, and they have kind of an abstract mascot.
Yes.
Like, okay, well, we can't walk around as a hilltopper.
Maybe let's just make up a reason. I'm going to say it's because they have black hooves and it looks like they have tar on their heels. So no,
I'll go with that.
Okay,
I'll go with that.
That's the official, unofficial version of it. So anyway,
and if Google doesn't agree with that, Google is wrong.
That's right. All right. Well, Jeff, I'm really excited that you're back on the program, and really, you've done so much since we talked last. You are recovering right now. I don't know if you want everybody to know, but you're recovering right now from shoulder surgery, and the reason I bring that up is because in the story of your life, that actually adds a layer of complication to things, doesn't it?
A major layer of complication. I lost my arm, this one, when I was 18 years old, and in the accident where I lost my arm, I was getting pulled into a machine called a screw auger. And as I was being pulled into the auger, I grabbed onto the outside of the auger with my left arm to try to slow my descent into the machine. Well, as I was being pulled in, my right shoulder was dislocated as my arm was getting wrapped on the inside of the machine. My left shoulder dislocated as I was being pulled in because I was holding on to the outside. So between those two things, I ended up dislocating both shoulders. And since my accident, that was July 22nd, 1993, since that day, I've dislocated my left shoulder probably 30 to 40 times. And the last time I dislocated it this year, I tore the labrum really bad. So I had to have shoulder surgery on my good arm. I've actually been in a sling for the last 2 weeks. I'm supposed to be in my sling right now. So to my surgeon, if you're watching, I apologize, but I just didn't want to wear it right now. But I've got to be in a sling for 6 more weeks. And then,
thank God you married a nurse.
Thank God.
I mean, it's like
for anybody
custom built.
And you are of the praying kind, pray for her. Don't pray for me. Pray for her. Because we have 3 girls, and now she's got 3 girls and me, and we have 4 cats and a dog. So she's
Bless
amazing.
Kelly. Bless her, Lord.
Bless Kelly, oh my soul, and all that is within me. She's amazing.
All right. So let's talk about your story a little bit, because a lot of it is in the book. The book is the majority of your story. And it's, again, the book is called If I Had Died That Day.
If I would have died that day.
And yes. Jeff, you lost your arm, as you said, and of course that in and of itself, we could just stop with that part of the story, and it's enough to make people shiver. But then you had to recover from that, and your life has just been a roller coaster of valleys and winds, or mountaintops, all the way through. Let's talk just a little bit about, let's give them an abbreviated version of the story. You lost your arm in the screw auger. So where do we go from there?
Lost my arm in the screw auger. Ran about 75 yards, 50 to 75 yards with one arm. Ran to an office where I knew there was a phone. Somebody saw me, called for help, load me up on shortly after that, an ambulance gets there. They load me up, take me to the local hospital where they did the best they could. But you know how local hospitals are, small hospitals. They aren't always equipped to handle a situation like I was dealing with. So they had already called for Life Flight to come down to take me to Duke University Medical Center, which we both know that is like
the worst place they could have taken you.
Yeah, that's like, hey, can you just please take me to the gates of hell and ask the devil to work on me?
Isn't that what the campus is known as, the gates of hell? I mean, like literally.
Well, it is to me. It is to me.
Yeah, the time I was kidnapped after your wedding and taken there, I felt like I was being tortured. So
Well, I was with a buddy today, and he talked about how he went to a game at Cameron Indoor Stadium, and people have told me, you've got to go to a game there. I'm like, actually, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
No interest. Like, I can also, go jump off of a mountain with no parachute and see what happens. But no, I don't want to do that either.
So they take you there, and that's where they're going to save your life.
They take me there to save my life. I'm like, Lord, please don't let them find I'm a Tar Heel fan. And there was a couple of times while I was in surgery that, everything was kind of going along fine, but, I had lost 3/4 of my blood at the time as well. So I'm in surgery. I'd been in surgery at this point for probably 6 or 7 hours, and my heart rate started plummeting. It had kind of was hovering in the 60 beats per minute, and it plummeted down into the 20s where they were losing me quickly. So they pumped me full of a medicine. I believe it's called ephedrine. I'll have to check with my wife to be sure, but to get my heart going again. So the beats came back up, and then 5 minutes later it plummeted again. So there was twice they were really close to losing me, but I was able to, the second dose, my heart rate kind of leveled out, and I surgery for 13 hours, in the hospital for 16 days, having to learn how to live my life all over again with only one arm, because I was right-handed before the accident.
And an athlete. Was going to play baseball in college.
Yeah, they're like, now you're left-handed. I'm like, well, actually, I'm only-handed, but whatever. And so it was just kind of learning how to live my life all over again. And I talk about this in the book, but the pain that I experienced was really bad. Having my arm ripped off, and just I never lost consciousness until they put me to sleep. And once I got to Duke, it was really bad. But everything that I dealt with afterwards, the depression, the suicidal thoughts, just hating my reflection in the mirror. There was just so much that I dealt with afterwards that was actually the hardest part of my book to write. It took me a while to write this book, but by far that chapter where I go into that kind of stuff, that took me by far the longest, because it was so hard to write, because I was reliving it and experiencing some of those feelings again. So that part was pretty brutal.
Let me ask you this: as you're writing it, now you've told that story. When we had you speak for us here in Orlando, and the multiple times you spoke for us in Tulsa, you would tell that part of the story a lot. How does it differ for you when you're writing? Is it because it took longer to tell it, or did you relive it every time you told it? How does that go?
I think it was the fact that I was like, when I'm sharing my testimony, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to get through this part, and I will get to the happy stuff quickly. I will get to where I gave my life to Jesus, and my life turned around so quickly when that happened. But when I'm writing it, and you can ask my wife, there are times that I would come in to sit down and write it, and I wouldn't get anything. I would read what I'd written, and I would close the computer and walk away, because it was every time I wouldn't just sit down and start writing.
Yeah.
I would read what I'd written, and then I would write some more. But sometimes reading what I'd written was just, I went to the darkest places that I've been, because I want this book to be as genuine and authentic as possible. And hopefully when somebody reads it, if they're going through something similar, it might not be the loss of an arm, but it could be an experience that has triggered that. I'm hoping that I think one of the things that a lot of time is missed in the church is just authenticity and being real.
Come on.
You have to act like you always have it together, that you never have any problems, that, I walk by faith, so I never experienced any hardships. Well, that's not the world that I live in. I experience hardships, and I have developed a motto in my life that I no longer ask when something negative happens. I no longer ask, God, why me? I always ask, God, how can you get glory out of this? Mm. And so part of the way for God to get glory from this is for me to get really vulnerable, lay it all out there on the table, but then show what God did in my life and through my life to get me through it, to show other people that it's possible. It's kind of like you and I have talked before about being a blueprint for other people.
Yeah.
If I experience something negative in my life, I want to be able to overcome that situation and get through it, not barely squeak by, not barely get by, but overcome. And by doing that, show other people how to overcome as well.
Our guest today is Jeff Bardel, and he's an author of a brand new book entitled If I Had Died That Day, If I Would Have Died That Day. And you can buy that you can purchase a copy for Christmas is coming. It's a great stocking stuffer. You can buy that at jeffbardel.com, and Jeff will sign it and have it sent out to you as quick as he can. And I guess if we order it today, we're going to guarantee that they get it by Christmas. So
if they order it today, it'll go out this week.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
So they'll get it. All right. So let's turn the corner real quick because we're going to run short on time. But I know that part of the story is so hard. And I know that even when you were writing it over these last years or so, there are days you would text our little group text and just say, guys, I'm really fighting some really dark things right now. I know that that's not hard to or not easy to tell that part of the story, but the great part is the story didn't end there, and that you went on to have a great career at Rhema. You worked there as a writer for years, which, you know, some people think, wow, one-arm guy writing, how does that work? I mean, you should see Jeff on the computer. It's impressive to see him cover the keyboard with one hand. But then you played golf. You were assistant golf coach, won a national championship there. Then you broke the record for the longest drive of a golf ball with one arm.
Yes, sir.
I mean, how does one wrap their mind around coming up from something like that to do what you did?
Well, I believe this is one of those situations where it's good to have good people in your corner, because when it was my golf coach at Rhema who actually told me about the world record. It's Dean Tad Grigorich. He's the dean at Rhema Bible Training College, and his son got a Guinness Book of World Records for Christmas and saw the record in there, and he called me immediately and was like, "You can do this." And I'm like, the record at the time was 230, I think it was 236 yards and a little bit, maybe a couple inches or whatever. And he said, "You can do that." I'm like, but the thing was that doesn't count like the bounce and the roll. That counts from the point that you hit the ball to the point the ball first touches the ground. So bounce and roll doesn't count. I'm like, I don't know. That's a long way. And he's like, I've seen you do it. So I just went out and started practicing and just hitting golf ball after golf ball after golf ball. Dislocated my shoulder, as you well know, over and over again, but just really working towards breaking this record. And while I was out practicing one day, I was standing behind the ball and, you know, picturing my shot. And I would always quote Philippians 4:13, you know, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And, you know, God always causes me.
Because just swinging, I mean, playing golf in general, watching somebody with one arm play golf is impressive. We're not even talking about breaking a world record, but just to start there is enough.
Right.
I've gone to the driving range with Jeff and caddied for him when he played the one-arm championships here in Florida. People stop and watch no matter where it is. We're not even talking about hitting it a world record. I mean, you could come out there and hit it 20 yards and people are going to stop and stare. So you're there, and to quote that Philippians 4:13 it makes so much sense, because you're doing something that most people would think is impossible.
Right. And part of the reason why too I would quote that, it wasn't like a good luck charm, like, hey, if I say this enough times, God will let me break the record. It was a reminder of why I was doing it. I was doing it to open doors to be able to share my faith. By breaking that world record, I have gotten into a lot of schools where I go in and I'll do a motivational message. I'll demonstrate my golf swing. I'll talk to them about, you know, overcoming obstacles and stuff like that. And then we typically would partner up with a local church, and we would invite them out to a church event. And then we would have like an evangelistic meeting. And I've seen thousands of kids come to Jesus through doing events like that. So part of my reason for quoting that verse and quoting, God always causes me to triumph in Christ Jesus. Part of me doing that was that's what this is for. It's not about trying to get my name in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's about trying to broaden the opportunities, broaden the chance for the ministry to reach more people. And so that was kind of the whole reasoning behind trying to break the record in the first place, was just to do that. But the funny thing was, one day I was practicing, standing behind the golf ball, and God spoke to me out of nowhere. And it was really weird because I don't want people to think God speaks to me all the time, but that's part of the reason why the name of my book is what it is. Was when another time God spoke to me. I'm not going to give that away. But one time I was standing behind the ball and God said, "You sure are working awfully hard to get your name in that book." And I was like, "Yeah, I sure am." And he said, "But there's one book you didn't have to work at all to get your name into, and that's the Lamb's Book of Life." And so, like, right then I'm like, it doesn't matter if I get into the Guinness Book of World Records. Yes, it would be cool, but my name is written in the most important book ever. And so I know that for eternity, like, my salvation is sealed. And when I die, I'm going to heaven to be with my Jesus.
Amen. So very quickly, you went and broke the world record, and then somebody broke your record, and then you broke it again. I remember we were working out, you and me and my cousin Aaron. We were working out at the gym because you were wanting to break that record again, and so you did it. You did break the record, and what an accomplishment that is. But then that opened a lot of doors for you to even share with more people. You were on ESPN. You've been in a lot of press coverage and things like that. The Tulsa World did a big story on you, and it did exactly what you said it was going to do. It was going to open the doors for you to share Jesus with people, and it's an incredible story. And if you want more details about this story, Jeff's book is available right now at jeffbardel.com. It is called "If I Would Have Died That Day," and it is that you get to hear that the reason the name of the book is what it is all in the book. He gives you a really, really cool story that I've heard many times, how to do that. Jeff, before we wrap it up today, I know so many people have not necessarily lost their arm, but they've lost their job. They've lost all kinds of things in this crazy year this year. Speak something encouraging to them right now, because so many people are trying to rise up from the ashes right now.
Right. Well, it's funny that you asked that question. I wasn't really expecting it, but as I've been going through this with my shoulder, basically for the last 2 weeks, I've been armless. I've been walking around with no arms, barely able to do anything, being humiliated at times. But in this process, I know what my next book is going to be about. And
I love it.
The gist of what it's going to be is, a lot of times our biggest setbacks set us up for our greatest comebacks. Woo. And so I'm about to run a lap around my office right now because it just gets me excited just thinking about it. Because when I lost my arm, July 22nd, 1993, I thought my life was over. And there were times I wished it was. But I look back now, gosh, almost 30 years later, and to see all the amazing things that God has done in my life, all the amazing things God has allowed me to do and be a part of, I'm so grateful. So when a negative situation comes at you, it's not the end. It's not the end. You have just been set up for your greatest comeback. So whatever it is you might be going through, whether it's the loss of a job, whether it's the loss of a family member, whether it's a sickness, whatever it might be, there's so many things it could be. I don't care if it's abuse, whatever it might be, you have been set up for your greatest comeback. I sent a really cool story. I had a chance to send my book into a jail the other day. And it's something, for some reason, as I was writing it, it's something that never crossed my mind, that my book was going to go to a prisoner. And so I had the opportunity to write in the cover of the book to somebody I've never heard of, never met. And I wrote in there, I don't know why you're in there, and I don't care. I just know that Jesus loves you. He has a plan for your life, and good things are ahead. And so the thing is I don't care, to all the listeners that are listening, watching this right now, I don't care why you are where you are or what caused you to get into that bad place. But the one thing I know is that Jesus loves you. He has a plan for your life, and you are set up for an amazing comeback.
Friends, this is my good buddy, Jeff Bardel, and his story is fascinating. His testimony is inspiring, and his ministry is absolutely motivational. I would encourage you to get a copy of his book today, If I Would Have Died That Day, available right now at jeffbardel.com. We're going to put his information up on the screen. There it is, jeffbardel.com. You can follow along on Facebook and Instagram. Jeff posts quite a bit when he is out speaking at these places. You can do it right there at Bardel Ministries on Facebook and Instagram. He's also on Twitter at Bardel. He does have a YouTube channel as well that has some videos of him speaking around the country. I think this one's going to be on there as well as we seek to see Jeff, his face everywhere, because so many people have come to know Jesus because of him. Jeff, thanks so much for coming up on the show today. We love you. Of course, man, we don't get to see each other enough now, but Jody and I speak of you frequently. So we hope to see you soon. And, we were talking the other day. I told your wife this after you got out of surgery. Jody was like, when are we going to go to North Carolina so I can meet Kelly? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. You've never met her. So
he hasn't met.
Yeah. So
I think it's time for one of our brother reunions.
I agree.
North Carolina seems like a good meeting spot.
Now, I'm telling you right now, if Keith's watching, he's trying to probably ready to make that happen right now. So anyway.
Let's do it.
All right, buddy. Love you. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody go and buy the book, jeffbardel.com, If I Would Have Died That Day. All right, let's take a minute and stop for directions. As you think about a story like Jeff's, it's marred by tragedy. It's the part that really gets your attention. And and I know Jeff well enough that some people, it bothers him when people think, man, that he's just defined by what happened to him tragically. But the thing about it is I know Jeff because he became an overcomer. I have a relationship with Jeff because of the odds that he came against and then overcame. I know Jeff from the difference that he's made with his story. And the great part about a comeback and rising from the ashes is that you don't have to be labeled forever by the tragedy, by the loss of the job. You don't have to be labeled forever by the death in your family or the death of the dream. You can be labeled by what you do after. And if you think about it, Jesus' life is very much the same way. Jesus had a very successful life, a very successful 3 years where literally thousands of people followed him everywhere he went. But then his life towards the end, it ended in tragedy. He was arrested. His name was marred. He was thrown in jail. He was crucified like a criminal. And it was a lot of scandal around him in his life. Of course, he was doing that for us. But Jesus isn't just defined by him dying on the cross. Jesus is defined by the fact that he rose again. And that's what makes him powerful, and that's what makes him Lord, and that's what makes him make the difference in your life. Don't allow your life to be marred by tragedy and defined by tragedy. Come on, be defined by what you do out of that tragedy. When you do that, that's when you make the greatest difference in your life. That's going to wrap it up for the program today. I want to thank Jeff Bardel for coming on and sharing his incredible testimony. Again, if you'd like to get a copy of his book, you can do that at jeffbardel.com. It's called If I Would Have Died That Day. I want to thank Jody and Luke for another great program. Good job over there, guys. Thank you so much for being with us today. Make sure you're with us for the next show. We've got another great guest in the pipeline for you, and it's going to be a great one. I hope you found what you were looking for today as you took the time to expand your search and stop for directions. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for joining us today. Connect with us on @Expanding Your Search on Facebook and Instagram and @Expanding Search on Twitter. Relive any of our episodes on YouTube. We're available wherever podcasts are found, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also download the Direction Ministries app on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. Take some time today to expand your search and stop for directions.